Hi, I'm Morgan, and today I'll be analyzing different aspects of my everyday life and connecting them to the material learned so far in my Self and Society class. According to our text, Goffman analyzed how people demonstrate having certain attributes, such as social attributes, roles, and values, by investigating people's actions as if they were actors performing on stage for audiences. This is the dramaturgical perspective. It encourages you to examine how people stage performances in real life. So, everyone is on stage, and we are all expected to act appropriately and manifest respected attributes when on stage. Individuals feel social pressures on a daily basis to do so, and these pressures impact the self-consciousness and how they interact with others. Sociologists who use a dramaturgical method analyze nonfiction performances, meaning real-time, real-life, no make-believe. Our text reminds us that whether we all like it or not, surface appearances matter in life. We are all books, and we are all constantly being judged by our covers, whether we like it or not. These judgments that others make about us have some effect on our thoughts and actions as well.
So usually, pretty much everywhere you are besides home, for the most part, you are making sure that your actions are in check with a particular impression that you want others to have of you?
Yes, this is impression management. Impression management illustrates the actions that actors, us as individuals, take in order to influence the audience, others, in forming a certain impression of us. This can get extremely exhausting. What we use in order to convey a certain aura, message, or desired attribute are called sign vehicles. This term sign vehicle refers to the various facets that people use in performances, such as setting, manner, and appearance. There are also front stages and back stages in our everyday lives. According to the text, front stages are where actors, us, put on performances and expect to be judged by an audience. Back stages are where we, actors of life, prepare our performances, but also take the time to de-stress and take the mask off for a little while, or put down the act. I can apply this to my experience of being a teaching assistant for a respected psychology professor at CSUB. In this environment, I am using sign vehicles to aid in my performance that will start when the students and professor arrive. I am setting up in this backstage region and altering the props in play in order to convey a specific message and prepare for the class's activity that day. I was setting up the classroom in order to prepare for a group facilitation in small group dynamics. Another sign vehicle would be my somewhat semi-professional appearance, a button-down long-sleeve shirt. I am also fulfilling the obligations, behaviors, duties, and feeling associated with being a teaching assistant. I am attaining the roles associated with my named status. Here we are finalizing the placement of all the tables and chairs in the classroom to prepare for our group facilitation. We are almost all set. Now to ready up for the front stage. Here's the final setting for the performance. The way I would act in a professional setting wouldn't be the same way I would act if I were home hanging out with my family and friends. Goffman also explained that individuals may act in a calculating manner in order to engineer particular reactions from people, or individuals may act without thinking. Audiences or others might interpret our performance accurately or incorrectly. Calculated impressions are impressions that a person seeks to make as a result of his or her performance, versus secondary impressions, which are impressions left in the minds of the audience. and they may or may not comprise of the calculated ones that the performer had in mind. The guy next door seems to be so calculating. His front stage, his front lawn, is perfectly coiffed, cut, and tended to, with annoyingly accurate 90-degree angles. He tends to his yard and feeds his army of outside cats that like to roam and wreak havoc on the neighborhood. He is quiet, low-key, and seemingly normal. He seems to work hard on maintaining a specific calculated impression. On the flip side, when he is hidden inside his garage, his backstage, for most of the day, he spends his time yelling about the government, various presidencies, minorities, assorted holy texts, and God. And we are the lucky neighbors who experience these performances and realize that our secondary impressions of him aren't going to be the same as other passers-by who do not hear or see what he is really like. I don't think our neighbor realizes that we hear all of his garage rants and that our impression of him does not line up with the calculated performance he puts on when he is out front. We all get tired of constantly putting on a show. It can be exhausting. So having some fun or play acting in the real world can allow for a break from the routine of life and can be amusing at times. Our text mentions Paul Ekman's term duping delight, which refers to the pleasure people receive from manipulating others through deception, like practical jokes or pranks.
Did you put it, is it in your room?
Yes. Inside. Yes. Oh, no dark. No dark.
A break from the mundanity of life is needed sometimes. Although monotony can be seen as negative, our text reminds us that repetitive monotony enables people to live amongst one another in a normal state of predictability, in overwhelmingly familiar patterns of interaction that are routine at work and among family and friends. Actually, repetitive monotony is vital to an efficient society. If we know that individuals will engage in a routine way, this allows for ideal planning and organization. This also allows for a highly productive environment, whether it be at work in a factory, in government affairs, or interpersonally. Conformity is also not always a negative. From a sociological stance, conformity is why social order exists. So people carry out specific, set, repeated, and expected patterns of activity as the price for being integrated into social groups. In order to get by in this world, we all conform in different ways. For example, I'm from New York, and you must conduct yourself in a certain manner if you want to fit in or move around with ease in Manhattan. You have to walk at a fairly quick pace, look like you know where you're going, and don't be slow getting on or off the train. Another example of conforming would be how we've all learned at a young age that a library is a quiet place, where you must whisper and behave appropriately, not disturbing the quiet, calm atmosphere. When I am in the local library here in Lancaster doing schoolwork, I am saddened by some of the behaviors I see. Not everyone learned when they were young that a library was a quiet place, I suppose.
Every day, we go about our routine.